Coming up on Access Tech Live.
A hidden button on the iPhone? Which headphones are the best for every day? What is the Google ADC? It's Ask Us Anything today on Access Tech Live.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Mark Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us now and get involved at Access Tech Live.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Access Tech Live, the Ask Us Anything special. And with me, Stephen Scott. As always, this and every week, it is Mark Aflalo. He is there in Montreal. It's the last one of the season, Mark, and we're having a party.
It is a party. It's confetti's going to come out, a confetti cannon at the end of the show. I hear there's a cake coming. Expect some dancers at your door any moment now.
Cake?
It's going to be a blast.
Hang on. Cake? What kind of cake? What kind of cake are we talking about here?
A dual layer, chocolate on the bottom, vanilla in the middle, chocolate on top, nice icing. We do call it a cake in Canada. Is it still a cake in Glasgow as well?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes,
Good.
indeed.
Sure.
Okay, look, we're going to get into that. And, of course, not only have we got Ask Us Anything today, which we'll talk about in a moment, we also have some cool stuff coming up for you in the break, right? Because, Mark, over the next couple of weeks, we've got some great content to share.
We do. We're actually going to be rerunning some of our favorite episodes from the season. We're off for just about 4 weeks, Steve. We got to recharge the batteries, get things planned for season 2. But we'll still be here. So if you tune back in, of course, on Thursday at noon Eastern on AMI TV, you'll be able to see some pretty cool episodes that we handpicked for you. So don't worry. We are physically going elsewhere, but we will be there in spirit, Stephen.
Yeah, definitely. We'll look back to this week, and we're flipping the roles here on Access Tech Live this week because we're going to be answering your questions. Yes, you've been getting in touch with your burning tech questions, and that is what we call Ask Us Anything, and it's coming up. But first, let's kick things off with this week's headlines in tech and accessibility.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
So let's kick things off with Meta. Meta has announced efforts to enhance accessibility in their mixed reality products. By partnering with people with disabilities and accessibility advocates, Meta aims to co-design solutions that prioritize real-life user experiences. The initiative focuses on benefiting historically underserved communities and creating more inclusive products overall. The co-design process helps build trust and delivers better product experiences for everyone that uses them. Meta's committed to making mixed reality more inclusive and setting new industry standards to ensure everyone can thrive in the metaverse. Google Maps have some pretty cool new accessibility features that help users navigate transit systems more effectively. The update includes transit alerts for broken elevators and other accessibility issues, providing real-time information to users who rely on those features. The enhancement aims to improve the travel experience for individuals with disabilities by offering alternative routes and ensuring that they're informed about any potential obstacles, and the keyword there is in real time during their journey. Orcam, the company behind products such as the My Eye Pro and the Orcam Read, is no longer in the visual aids market. They're shifting their focus to products designed for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. That includes a new product that they call Hear, which they've been working on for some time now. The decision comes after a number of layoffs at the company that began in 2022. We caught up with former business development and sales manager Nat Nullman, who says that while AI was a major force against them, there were other factors as well.
In my opinion, is there are a lot of products out there. And Orcam, because it's the first one and developed technology, and it's a specialty product, it's quite expensive. So perhaps, they couldn't compete with some of the things that are available now, where you have specialty products, like, for example, Envision glasses that are, $1,000, $2,000 cheaper than Orcam My Eye, depending on the model. And there are also free apps.
Yeah, there are a lot of free apps out there. The company itself cites new large language models that are coming into the market, making their visual aids business a bit redundant. Apple's new suite of AI-based enhancements called Apple Intelligence may not be included in the initial release of iOS 18 as we expect. That's expected in September 2024, but Apple has released some of the basic features to developers only in iOS 18.1 this past Monday. Apple Intelligence will include intelligent notification management, message summarization, new writing tools, of course, ChatGPT and large language model integrations, and an improved Siri Assistant. Now, the new beta that was released on Monday has a very limited amount of intelligence, which developers hope will increase rapidly with new updates. Airbnb has partnered with APF France Handicap to make 1,000 homes accessible for the Paris Olympics going on now and the Paralympic Games. This initiative aims to enhance inclusivity by ensuring the visitors with disabilities have suitable accommodation options. Airbnb has also featured homes of inspirational para-athletes like Axel Letru and Sofiane Mihailou, who will host guests during the games, highlighting the importance of accessibility. The new partnership aligns with the broader vision of making Paris 2024 Games accessible to all attendees. AppleVis, a key resource for the blind and partially sighted community, closed their doors yesterday after 14 years. Founder David Goodman cited personal health, the voluntary nature of the work, and increasing negativity within the community as reasons. Now, the community that's been a driving force reacts to that shutdown.
We all are part of AppleVis, even if we haven't had a particular role in it, because it really is a site that has belonged to the community. And I think that's the way most of us felt about it.
Just leaves a massive hole especially for new users coming in. It was so easy to just tell people, go to AppleVis. If they take nothing away from this lecture or this book, go to AppleVis, right?
I can't really even articulate fully the impact that AppleVis has had on my life.
Now, despite exploring alternatives, the editorial team decided that continuing without Goodwin wasn't feasible. Stephen, you had a big episode of Double Tap on Monday talking all about that, especially the feedback from the community on that shutdown, which happened just yesterday.
That's right, and you can catch more of that on YouTube over the weekend as well on the Double Tap YouTube channel. But, you know, this is a huge story in the blind world because ultimately this was a website which a lot of people might say, well, you know, it's a website, it's a forum, there's probably lots of others out there. But this one didn't just capture the community. It actually captured Apple's attention as well. You know, AppleVis every single year would put out what was called the AppleVis report card that would essentially mark Apple on its accessibility achievements. Apple listened to that. They responded to that. They would even privately work with AppleVis to say, hey, let's put this out to the community. Let's see what people think about this. Let's work with you. They had their Golden Apples Award where every year, we talked about some of them, you know, some of the apps that would receive awards for their accessibility, which of course championed developers. So this was much more than just a website. This was much more than even just a place where blind people could come and talk about technology. This was a place where people could actually get information directly through to Apple themselves. And this, after 14 years, is going to be a big loss for the blind and low vision community.
Yeah, definitely, Stephen. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, no question of the week this week. Instead, we're fielding your questions. We've been talking about it for weeks now, and we want to know what your burning tech questions are. And you know what? It's never too late to get those questions to us. You can connect with us on all our social media platforms at Access Tech Live. You can email feedback@accesstechlive.com if you want to get involved. So coming up, Stephen, we're going to dive into some of those questions that have been submitted over the past few weeks. And we've got some special guests lined up as well who are going to help us field some of the ones that we just seem a little underqualified to answer. Do stick around. This is Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
On Ask Us Anything. Now, Mark, let's dive into the questions. What's our first one?
Okay, so let's go with Caleb McCready, who writes us by email. He says, I was thinking of buying a GPS tracker for my usually well-behaved dog, who occasionally goes rogue and wanders off. I wonder what that's like. I wonder if anyone had experience of using PitPat, PawFit, or Tractive on an iPhone with VoiceOver, or just any experience if any of these are usable, he writes. You know what? My dog is an indoor dog, Stephen, so she doesn't really run off. And if she does, she tends to get too scared of anything that's not near us. So she comes back. I've never used a tracking device on my dog. Maybe I should. What about you?
Well, you see, this is the first challenge, isn't it? Because what Caleb is talking about there is it accessible with an iPhone with VoiceOver? Now, what that means is the app itself going to work with the inbuilt phone screen reader. Now, this is where it gets tricky because there are so many of these available. And yes, there may be tons available in the market, but are they accessible and are you willing to spend the money to find out, right? That's always the challenge. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. I have been thinking about this a lot because we've just got our new puppy here and we're kind of thinking, okay, we might want to put a tracker on there just in case. And I've been looking into the Apple AirTag. Now, interestingly, Apple say, and are quite clear on this, do not use this with your dog. But actually reading into the details to why, because I was more interested in the why that's the case, because they all tend to use the same technology, right? Ultimately, it's because Apple don't want your dog getting this off the dog chain and eating it and swallowing it. They don't want to be responsible for that. So ultimately, that's why they're saying don't do it. I would say it is, though, the best way. And you can buy AirTag holders on collars for dogs. So if you do want to do it, it is possible to do. I would not be keen on spending money on something like the names you've mentioned because I just don't know if they're accessible enough. If anyone else does know, though, please do get in touch.
Yeah, it's interesting. My dog is too small. Like, my dog's a Chihuahua, so an AirTag on her collar would be pretty big. Like, I don't think she'd be terribly comfortable with it and might start, as Apple suggests, maybe gnawing at it and maybe swallowing it. The other thing I find interesting about AirTags, while I know that the experience of using them is completely accessible in the apps, is that they need to be passing by other iPhones, right, in order to ping back to the network to give you real-time location. I find that difficult. Even when I track my luggage, Stephen, when I'm traveling, you know, you wait for it to ping a nearby iPhone, and that depends on, like, is the person handling my luggage, do they have an iPhone? Then I'll get an update. But if not, and I can imagine a dog running away, like, you know, imagine they're running through your neighborhood. How quickly are they going to pick up signals from other people's iPhones to get that back to you? So I think that's why some people want to go for, like, the real-time GPS trackers. But there's so many problems there with battery life and everything that goes along with it. So we'll have to dive into this a little bit deeper. But yeah, if somebody out there does have a suggestion and experience with some of those apps in particular, do let us know. William writes in, Stephen, from Connecticut. I love how people are all over the place. He goes, so much to talk about Snapdragon, Intel, and AMD. What computer should I buy today that's going to do the job? I'm just a casual user who does email, browsing, and social media. Dan, what do you think, Stephen?
Well, look, I mean, we could try and answer this question, but I think we should field an expert on this one. I think that's just where we need to call it. I feel like I'm on Millionaire right now. I think we call a friend. So let's hear from Dan Ackerman. He knows his onions when it comes to this stuff. He is from Micro Center News. We put this question to Dan on your behalf, William.
I'm Dan Ackerman, editor-in-chief of Micro Center News, and if you're looking for a good mainstream laptop that's going to work for web surfing and email and social media, and maybe just a little bit more, I got some great suggestions for you. I usually start out with the classic MacBook Air. You can't go wrong with that. You can get them down under $1,000 now, easy to use, and it's going to last a long time. If you're interested in checking out some of these newer laptops that have Qualcomm Snapdragon chips in them, there are a bunch of those, and the thing to keep in mind is that you're going to get really good battery life out of them at regular mainstream prices. I think my favorite of the current batch, they're called Copilot Plus PCs, is the Surface laptop from Microsoft that I have right here. And then if you want something a little more traditional in the Intel AMD range, one of my favorite lower cost lines is the IdeaPad from Lenovo, and you can get these in a variety of screen sizes and configurations with Intel chips, AMD chips, regular clamshells with 360-degree hinges. You can get down to around $600 or go more than $1,200, but you get a lot of that Lenovo engineering know-how and really great keyboards in these systems. So if you want to find more about what kind of laptop you should buy, please come check us out at microcenter.news.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Dan Ackerman there, of course, from Micro Center News. And I mean, he's a great guy. He knows his stuff. I've got to say, I agree with all of that, of course. Why wouldn't you? But, you know, I've got to say, this is a good time to look for deals as well, because one of the things with the Snapdragon processors... Yeah, well, exactly. That's right. And, you know, when you think about some of the deals that are available since some of the new devices have come along. I, for example, picked up a Samsung Galaxy Book 3 on an amazing sale, literally 50% off the price, because the new Galaxy Book 4 came out. So, you know, great opportunity to get a deal. And of course, if you're talking Mac, yeah, I've got to say, MacBook Air is the most popular Mac for a reason.
I actually spoke to OnePlus yesterday, Stephen, and they have a brand new OnePlus Pad 2 that's out, under $1,000 Canadian, a pretty good option as well. So we'll have to get our hands on that as well. We've got a question here from Mark in Beaconsfield. He spells Mark the right way with a C. I've heard you mention the ADC from Google often with one of your guests. What exactly is that, and what goes on there? Well, Stephen, I mean, we could go on and on about this, but Christopher Patno is the head of EMEA accessibility and disability inclusion at Google, and I think he's a little bit more suited to answer this question for us. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Christopher, and someone asked, what's the ADC all about? So let me show you. So here in London, this is our first of these new style ADCs, and as you walk in, you get to see things about accessibility, you get to see the tools, get to learn about Braille. We've got video games where we try to dispel the stigma of disability. We demonstrate things like Tobii eye trackers, different kinds of switches. We show off even the Xbox adaptive controller, but also Sony's excellent Axis controller. We show different kinds of kit around accessibility. We show things like AAC boards. We demonstrate excellent uses of AI. For example, this is live caption running on a Samsung tablet, and it just runs and runs and runs. We show off the Google technology like Google Chrome and the browsers and the captions that are built in, or things like Chrome OS. We even get to show off things like my favorite feature, this thing called Guided Frame, where when you turn on TalkBack.
TalkBack on. Held volume keys. Top camera. Window mode.
You could actually help yourself
Night sight.
Take a selfie.
Switch to front. Take photo. Button. One face in frame. Move your phone left and down. Hold for photo. 3, 2, 1. Photo taken.
That's what we get to do.
That's our good friend Christopher Patno there from Google telling us all about the ADC in London. What an amazing place. And, you know, a great way to learn about Google accessibility and what Google is doing. And, of course, they're encouraging businesses to go in there and talk and learn about accessibility, but individuals as well. They're really trying to open up the conversation and let people know what is going on. And they're not afraid to mention the big piece of fruit as well, you know, Apple. So they're quite happy to mention that as well as they go along, and, you know, mention other products and really just, I guess, just showcase accessibility, which is wonderful.
Got an email here from Emma in Winnipeg that says, I know Mark is really into headphones. Can you clarify the difference between over-the-ear headphones and on-ear headphones for me, and suggest a good all-around option for me that I can use for music but also take calls? I love this question, Stephen. If you knew how many headphones, different types of headphones I have sitting around my office, it would actually probably make you a little bit jealous. But let me feel this one a bit, and feel free to interrupt me any time you want. So on-ear headphones are exactly kind of as they're listed. I'm holding holding the new Beats headphones right here, and they actually sit on top of your ear itself. It doesn't cup your ear like an over-ear headphone is. So it sits on your ear, puts a bit of pressure on the ear, which some people find a little bit uncomfortable after long amounts of uses. Now, when you're talking about over the ear, I've got the new Beats Studio Pro here. Again, very similar in design when you look at them side by side. One's a little bit bigger with bigger cups, which is what obviously is the difference. And those sit around the actual circumference of your ear. So it's not putting that pressure on your ear itself. Therefore, it's more comfortable. Plus, it creates that noise isolating seal as well. In terms of options, I mean, there are so many directions you can go with these. These are great options. I like Beats headphones. Some people find them to be a little bit too bassy. I do like to tweak mine with the EQ options, the equalization options under the music settings in the iPhone, which is pretty cool. Stephen, do you have a favorite in terms of headphones, whether on ear, over the ear, or something that you like to use and go to?
Well, you know, one of the things because I often when I'm wearing headphones, I'm listening to a screen reader or something talking to me. So I kind of want to be able to be present in the room as well. I'm talking to people around me at the same time, or maybe I'm on a call, or maybe I'm outside. So as a result of that, I like this new design, which is kind of, I suppose you could call it over ear. Essentially, we're talking about little hooks with headphones on them that go over your ear. They're standalone on their own. You put one in one ear and one over the other. And essentially, the speaker just sits on top of your ear. It doesn't go in your ear. It just essentially fires the audio into the ear canal. I'm actually holding right now a pair of rather cheap True-Free 01. Now, this is basically a very simple little design. As I say, you've got that little hook that goes over the ear, and then you have this tiny little thing, this tiny little speaker that goes over your ear. It does not go in your ear. So it means you can still hear what's going on. You can still be present. But you actually get really good audio. Now, these come from companies like Shocks. Anchor do them as well. I opted for the cheapest version I could find, and it was True-Free 01. And they're actually pretty good. The bass response is good. The audio is good. And the microphone is actually pretty impressive as well. We often hear about bone conduction headphones. Kind of similar idea. You would have heard of those from Shocks. I've often liked them. But, you know, the problem with those is they kind of tickle my cheeks. I don't like that. So, you know, I like these because they fire the audio into my ear. They're nice and clear, and I can have a good conversation with someone. And most importantly, hear what's going on around me at the same time.
I love it. I mean, that's analog on basically a transparency mode, right? You don't actually need microphones on board. It just does it automatically. Great question so far. Thank you, Emma. We'll definitely, hit us up if any of those options work for you. We're going to take a quick break, Stephen. We've got way more questions coming up, some comments on our YouTube channel as well. So do stick around. And if you want to get involved again, it is at Access Tech Live on all our socials. And you can email us feedback@accesstechlive.com as well.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. back to Access Tech Live.
And we're back on Access Tech Live, and today on the show we are answering your questions in our Ask Us Anything special. And Mark, people have been getting in touch with us in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, especially here's a comment from someone on YouTube named Moto Bojo 2. He actually quite active on the YouTube channel. We like the comments. We do respond to those as well. He writes, does the pro version of the Picky Bot allow for longer video segment processing? If so, how much longer? Stephen, what is the Picky Bot?
So PickyBot's a really cool app, right? Essentially what you can do is you can take a video, you can upload that video, and it will actually describe, it will use image processing to start describing that video to you. So let's say you walk around your home, or even you should just sit at your desk and you just take a short video. You can actually upload that, it will process it, and it will sort of give you a description. Basically what it did when I did it was it said I was inside a mess. Which is right. It is absolutely right. It is chaos in here. So, yes, it basically was telling me to tidy up.
Okay, so in terms of video processing, what's the limit on it now? Do we know what the limit is? And does the pro version allow you for longer videos?
Yeah, so this has been changeable recently because what they had initially, I think it was like 30 seconds you could get. I think it's now up to about a minute on the regular plan. If you go for the pro, you do get a little bit longer, a few minutes. It's not much more, but you do also get some other benefits as well with the PickyBot app. It gives you more detail. It's using different language models, so you're getting a lot of more choice, more that than necessarily length of video. It is always a little bit restricted at the moment, but it is a great way to do it. And of course, the idea here is you're not meant to be uploading full-length feature films. This is not about that. This is short film that you might want to send to someone. It's great for sending videos to Instagram or to TikTok because, of course, it allows you to audio describe your video for free to blind people, which is great.
So you're saying is 30 seconds is enough to determine that your room is just a mess. I got it. Okay.
Oh, for me, yes. I mean, easily, yes. Just tidy up is all it said.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so Brailstone AFS commented on a YouTube video that we talking about the Meta Ray-Ban frames. And he writes, would these benefit people who are totally, essentially, cognitively blind? I'm a strong cane user, just have problems in grocery stores and airports. Would it be better than Glidance? Now, Glidance is that, that device that looked like that old school vacuum that we used to use as kids with a giant kind of bubble dome on the bottom with the balls that were popping up. I'll let you take this one, Stephen.
So Glidance is a mobility aid. So it's a little bit different here. I get where you're coming from, and I get why you might see the difference. But ultimately, what I would say is, Meta frames and devices that are wearable like that are essentially observing your environment. But what Glidance does is it allows you to navigate your environment. So those are the differences. Now, in terms of Meta Ray-Ban glasses specifically, yeah, I mean, look, you will get benefit out of these, but bear in mind the AI functionality is a little bit limited, and it certainly is not built for blind people. So think about something like Envision glasses. We would have mentioned Orcam, but as you heard in the news, Orcam is no more and certainly is not doing visual aids anymore. So I can't even recommend the MyEye Pro or the Read or any of those kind of devices to you now. But Envision glasses is probably closer to it. I think what is likely to happen here, Mark, honestly, is in a few months' time, if even it takes that long, we're going to hear about some really interesting updates and partnerships between Meta and the assistive tech companies coming together. Because, look, Envision glasses are great, but they're very expensive. They run on very expensive hardware and old hardware. And essentially, I think Envision are looking for a new home. So I would say that Meta might be it. And I think as good as they are, and they are brilliant, and the build quality of the Meta Ray-Bans, the style of them, all of that is fantastic. You get so much out of them. They have the cameras in there as well. And of course, that means you can use them for lots of different things. Most notably, recently, you can actually get IRA calls through those now, through WhatsApp. You can, of course, get WhatsApp video support. As soon as you make a WhatsApp call and you've got the Meta Ray-Bans on, you hear a little boop, boop. That's exactly what it sounds like. And then you double tap the button on the arm of the glasses, and it will actually switch the camera from your phone to your glasses. So suddenly whoever is on the other end can see through your glasses, which is just amazing. So if you need some help around the home, you need some help searching for something or checking for something, you can get support that way through IRA or via WhatsApp video call with anybody. So there's reasons to have it. The AI is very young and very new. It is not what I would call blind ready yet. There's a lot of things you will want to do, perhaps, like, for example, scan a document, get it read to you. Not capable of that yet, but it will describe your scene. It will describe information of things around you. And you can, like all AI these days, you can question it and get more information. I did it on holiday. I was standing in front of 2 cruise ships. I wanted to know where they were from. It told me first off there were 2 cruise ships in front of me. And then I asked, okay, where are these cruise ships from? What are their lines? What are their cruise lines? And it was able to tell me. So that's the kind of information it's capable of at the moment. It will, of course, improve. And there's a Meta Connect event in September. We'll get a lot more information about the future of Meta and AI then.
Yeah, they're working on their large language models as well, so I can imagine those making it to that hardware as well. We got an email here from Carla in British Columbia writing, I love audiobooks, and I'm hearing a lot of buzz around new audiobooks coming in spatial audio. What does that even mean? Thanks. Well, Stephen, you know, Georgia Knox is a country manager for Audible in Canada, and she's the perfect person to field this question. Let's take a look.
Hi, Georgia Knox from Audible here. Great question. So spatial audio is really like immersive audio. It provides a surround sound and depth that's really like a 3D listening experience, and it truly puts the listener at the center of the story. At Audible, we provide spatial audio through our collaboration with Dolby Atmos, and on audible.ca we have just under 100 titles available to listen to in spatial audio. They span from some amazing classics such as our recently released 1984 to Oliver Twist and The Little Mermaid, from our sleep sound collection that features the likes of Noah Reid and Shamir Anderson, through to some other original titles such as our festive, cozy mystery Mistletoe Murders. You can find the Dolby Atmos titles by looking for the little icon that appears next to those that have spatial audio, or you can just type Dolby Atmos in the search functionality and our collection of spatial audio titles will appear for you that way. Enjoy listening.
That's Georgia Knox there, the Audible country manager. Do you know, I'm so excited by this spatial audio because I'll be honest, I love movie. I loved movie, Mark, you know, and especially growing up, you know, I loved all these movies. I used to watch Back to the Future and all these films, E.T. and all the stuff I watched growing up. But, you know, I've kind of lost a lot of the attention to that with losing my sight. I don't really love movies in the same way. So being able to enjoy audio in this cool new way, and 1984, George Orwell classic, of course, being redone. And it's only like 3.5 hours long, so even I can get through that. You know, that is such a good piece of audio. Very scary though, but very good, and very scary in 2 senses: the sense of 1984 and the whole thing with that, and you know, the production as well. So don't listen alone and don't listen at night. But other than that, it's fantastic.
I can just imagine. I went to see Deadpool on Monday, and it's the immersiveness of just regular audio in movies translating to books, I think, is really cool because it brings it to a whole new level. It's like you're listening to a feature film, which is very neat. We've got a question here from William in Vermont. It goes, when is Be My Eyes going to be available with the vision features that they teased when OpenAI announced GPT-4o? Stephen, you had a chance to catch up with Mr. Mike Buckley. What did he tell you about this?
Not much. It's maybe not a surprise. Look, he is being led by OpenAI to some degree, right? So ultimately, when OpenAI make this model available, I think as soon as that day emerges, at that point we will know when Be My Eyes gets access to this as well. I mean, certainly Be My Eyes have been working with this model now for some time, so they are prepared to go, which is fantastic. And when it comes, I can't wait, because I just want to hail a taxi, hail a cab, using my phone and just asking it, when is the next cab? That is so cool.
And they did announce this week, OpenAI announced that they're slowly rolling that middle model out to people, paid subscribers first. I'm a paid subscriber. I haven't seen it show up yet, but I can imagine it's only a couple weeks, if not maybe a month away from seeing that.
So not the video model, but the voice model. That is what's coming out, which is cool. And this, of course, is the one which caused all the controversy, right? Because it was around the whole, is it Scarlett Johansson or is it not?
Yeah. Elizabeth writes, what on earth is back tap on the iPhone? And more importantly, how can I turn it on? Well, our resident how-to person is, of course, Sean Priest, the co-host with you, Stephen, on the Double Tap podcast, and he fielded this question for us.
Hello, I'm Sean Priest, and that is a great question. BackTap is an accessibility feature for the iPhone, which gives you the ability to interact with your phone in a completely different way. Let's say, for example, you have a problem in using the physical buttons on your phone, maybe the volume up or volume down, or performing certain gestures such as the home gesture on the touchscreen. Well, if you turn on BackTap, you can simply double tap or triple tap on the back of your phone to perform those actions. I know, anywhere on the back of your phone. It doesn't matter if you've got a case on or not. Simply double or triple tap on the back of your phone with one finger to perform the actions that you want. So, how do you turn it on? Go to Settings, Accessibility, and Touch. Then at the bottom of that long list of items you'll find Back Tap. In Back Tap, there's two options, double tap or triple tap. Now, select the one you want to assign an action to, and then you'll find a list of the actions you can assign. Now, there's different ones in there, anything from opening the camera app, as I mentioned before, turning the volume up or down, or even starting smart invert or turning on or off voiceover. And if you're feeling very adventurous, you can even assign the shortcuts that you may have created in the Apple Shortcuts app. That's it. It's incredibly useful, and even if you don't use it for the accessibility bonuses that it gives, it's also just a very quick and convenient way to get to the features that you want. I use it all the time. That's BackTap. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. I've got to say, Mark, some bad news. I just wanted to let you know some bad news right now, and it is kind of important. No one in our control room is currently paying attention to what's being broadcast right now because they are all in their settings, setting up what they've decided they want as their backed up. I always guarantee that is what's going on, because the great thing about this is, for a lot of people, this is like a new thing, right? It's like a hidden button. And, you know, it's so cool when people learn about this stuff, but even more cool, yes, it's under accessibility, but we can all use it. So lots of people could use this for anything.
It reminds me of when people discovered the feature where you can make your flash up when phone calls or notifications came in. You know, again, an accessibility feature, but I know a lot of people that take advantage of that because when they're on silent mode, they don't necessarily hear the vibrating, which is pretty cool. But this is a great example of, you know, those features that start off as accessibility features that make it to the mainstream and just show you how sometimes, I think most of the time, honestly, we're seeing a lot of the innovation done on that side of things, on the accessibility side of things, and then they make it way into the mainstream, and people in the mainstream are like, oh yeah, well, yeah, we've had that for a while. Come on. But they discover it like it's a new feature, which is pretty cool. I've yet to actually set up BackTap on my phone. Have you done it yet? Because I'm trying to think of the different scenarios, but I'm worried that I might do accidentally, for example.
So, little tip, if you're going to use it, because this is unfortunately where I fell foul of it, if you use the haptics function, so essentially when your phone rings, does it buzz as well? That can actually activate the BackTap function. So whatever it is that you've chosen, in my case, it was opening up an assistive technology app called Seeing AI. Every single time my phone rang, I couldn't get to answer a call because it had opened up Seeing AI. So, you know, you've got to be careful. If the phone's lying flat on the desk or on a table or whatever, and you've got that function, it seems to enable itself. Now, you can adjust the sensitivity of the vibration pattern. So you can muck around with that a little bit and get it right, but it's just important to know. I have set it up before, though. I love it. I think it's a great function because, again, it just gets you access to things. It's like, you know, when the action button appeared on the iPhone 15 Pro, everyone's like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, I've actually got 2 action buttons. So stuff you. And it works. You know, it's great.
I love it. Well, coming up, Steve, we've got more of your questions. So again, get involved. Feedback at accesstechlive.com, the email address. Of course, on social media, it's at accesstechlive. We've got some questions coming up from Halifax and even California after a quick break here on Access Tech Live.
There's more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. Back to Access Tech Live.
And we're having fun today going through your questions. This is fun, right, Mark? I'm enjoying
It is
myself.
fun. It's supposed to be
all
fun,
these listener
Stephen.
questions. Yeah.
Come on. It's supposed to be fun. That's the whole point of this. And we've got an email here from Jamie in Halifax. Remember Halifax, Stephen? It's not a bank. It's that place I was in at International Albinism Awareness Day. Jamie writes, Hi, my husband is slowly losing his vision. He loves playing games growing up, but he's worried that he won't be able to play anymore. Any ideas, Stephen?
Well, look, when it comes to gaming, there's only one guy I ever go to, and that is Steve Saylor. He's known as the Blind Gamer online and on YouTube. Let's hear what he had to say in response to this question.
Hi, I'm Steve Saylor, commonly known as the Blind Gamer, and that's a really great question. Video game accessibility has come a long way just in the short 10-year span that accessibility has been a big part of the industry, or at least known within the industry. It was in the background for a couple years beforehand, but we're really starting to see a lot more push for accessibility, like I said, in the past decade. And especially for not only just games for like with many different types of accessibility for different types of disabilities, from motor accessibility to cognitive to deaf and hard hearing, but also for blind accessibility. Probably the most famous game that's out there that became sort of the poster child for blind accessibility was the Last of Us series. If you know it from the HBO show that came out a couple years ago, and you've heard about the show or the game that it's based on, The Last of Us. Last of Us Part 2, when it came out, was a game that was extremely accessible for a lot of disabilities, but was fully playable by a majority of the people in the blindness spectrum, from anyone from totally sightless players to just those who have low vision. And not only did Naughty Dog, who created the game, was able to create the sequel to The Last of Us, make it accessible, they actually went back and remade the first game. So not only to be able to make it compatible with the second game, but also make it accessible as well. So you can play the entire, both Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 with even if you don't have any vision whatsoever. It is extremely accessible with that. There's a lot of games and they keep getting better. So if you're worried about the future for blind accessible games, this is now a really good time, because it's honestly, it's really great to be able to, it's going to be really great to be a blind gamer in the future.
And even right now, I would say as well, thank you so much to Steve Saylor, of course, the Blind Gamer, for giving us the answer to that question. You know, I am not a gamer. I never was. And I think part of it was because I just really thought I couldn't play those games. And Steve and I are quite similar in that regard. He, of course, has jumped right into this. And I kind of feel I'd love to. And it feels the more and more of these games are actually becoming accessible. So this is fantastic timing to get into this. And for those especially who are losing their vision, who loved gaming, to be able to continue playing in a new way, I think is just fantastic. So liberating.
Stephen, I got a tweet here from Ryan in Westlake Village, California. It goes, should I upgrade my iPad to the newest generation? I still have an old one with an A processor. Will I notice a difference? Okay, I mean, I think you and I can feel this pretty well. And the answer is, at this point, I think you will. Definitely, if you're running an A processor, we're at least 3 years old at this point. If you were maybe on an M1 from last couple of years, M1 or M2, I would say don't bother. But definitely from the A processors, I'm noticing a big speed difference. Have you noticed it?
Well, look, I got myself, and I don't still to this day know why, I bought myself the largest screen iPad I could find, because I like to annoy myself. So I got the new M2 MacBook, iPad Air. I get mixed up with all these different products. But yeah, the M2 iPad Air, which is really nice, really light, great screen as well, because it's 13-inch, which is kind of amazing. So I would definitely recommend looking at that. But then I must admit the iPad mini was really cute, and that's not been upgraded now for a number of years. I hope it hasn't disappeared the same way that the iPhone mini has disappeared. So fingers crossed it gets updated, because that would be really cool if we could get to a point where that was available with an M processor, because that was the best iPad ever.
Okay, I'll go with that. And speaking of iPads, Stephen, speaking of iPads, Tiffany Milburn is watching our stream right now on YouTube, and she goes, is it possible to set up a Ring doorbell without sighted help? I have one, but I'm having trouble getting it set up. You have a Ring, don't you?
Yes, and unfortunately, I've got to say, Tiffany, great question, but sadly not. You're going to have somebody, you're going to have to get some sighted assistance to do that, because it is not the easiest thing to do. First off, you've got to get the doorbell up onto the wall. You can, of course, stick some of them on, but you know, if you want to have it drilled on, then if you can do that, that's great. But when it comes to actually doing this through the app, actually setting it up through the app, it is very difficult to do because it's not accessible. Now, interestingly, we are looking into the Blink doorbells as well, because even though it's all from the same company, Amazon, the Blink doorbells seem to be a little bit more accessible out of the box. So we're looking into this. Maybe next season we can dive into that in a bit more detail for you, Tiffany. But if you are trying it, you're going to probably need some help. Let us know how you get on, though. We'd love to hear how that goes.
I know there's also options even from Belkin. Wemo has a doorbell that's really great, and I know their apps are fully accessible. So are the Ikubi ones. They actually put a focus on accessibility with those. I know she has that one already and trying to get it set up, but if you can return, you might want to. We got a question sent in by video, Stephen, from Stuart in Montreal.
I'm sitting here in my home office, and I realize I don't have enough USB ports on my laptop. Is there a dock or a USB hub you can recommend?
Okay, interesting one. I actually have some options for this, Stephen. I'm holding up to the camera right now a Kensington dock. They've sent me a bunch of different docks over the years to play, and this is one of the fun ones because it's powered, so it'll power your laptop or your device that's plugged into it with one USB-C cable, and it's not necessarily, you don't have to be Thunderbolt, it can be just a newer laptop. You'll get 2 extra USB-A ports on the front, 4 USB-A ports on the back. You'll get 2 HDMI or DisplayPort outs. I mean, this is an example of something that also has SD card reader, headphone jack, but they make docks in all shapes and sizes and hubs. I know you've got one there from Microsoft, right?
Yeah, so this one's kind of old, and what I mean by old is it's been out for like 2 weeks, and Microsoft have discontinued it. Because what's happened here ultimately is Microsoft had a brand called Modern, which they were using to essentially sell things like USB-C speakers, headsets, that kind of thing. You know, essentially office tools, webcams, all that. Well, they also included this. This is the Microsoft Audio Dock. It is still available. You can still buy it, and it will still be supported by Microsoft, I'm sure, like everything, for many years to come, because it's actually pretty simple. So it is a docking station, but it has additional functionality. So along the top here, you have a range of buttons, very tactile as well, which is cool. You've got a Teams button on here because, of course, Microsoft Teams integration built right in. You can press the Teams button. It will open up the Teams app. You've got volume up and down. You've got a mute button as well. And on the back of it, you have actual inputs here, which are actually, which is cool. I was kind of mentioning this earlier. They've got tactile bumps on them as well, so you can know which one is meant to go where. Although it doesn't signify much to me, to be perfectly honest. Line, dot, dot, 2 dots. I don't get it, but whatever. There's a place where you put the power socket. There is an HDMI port. There are 2 USB-Cs, and there is also an HDMI port for plugging in a monitor. Couple of really cool things about this. One is it is an audio dock, meaning it has a speaker built in, quite a beefy little speaker. Not the best for audio for listening to music, but great for Teams calls because, of course, it has the speakerphone built in, hence why all the controls at the top. And the whole thing is controlled and certainly plugged into your laptop, which provides charging as well to your laptop. And the great thing is that the USB cable attached to this does not disconnect. So you never have to go, where is that USB-C to USB-C cable I had lying around here? You don't need to worry about that anymore. It's already built in. This is a great little dock, and they're selling it for half price, $105 Canadian on Amazon right now, which isn't bad.
No, not bad at all, Stephen. I love the interactivity of the show. Tiffany wrote back to us after you answered about the Blink doorbell. She goes, I used to have the Blink doorbell. It was accessible to set up, but the two-way audio feature wouldn't work, so she could never answer the door. Thank you, Tiffany, for watching. We really do appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who submitted questions. We're going to take a quick break because when we come back, I've got the confetti cannon. It's got some technical issues. I'm not sure I'm going to get it working, but we're going to put a big bow on the season. So do stick around. This is Ask Us Anything here on Access Tech Live.
There's more more Access Tech Live to come. Get involved and have your say at Access Tech Live on social media. We'll be right back. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. Access Tech Live will return in less than 2 minutes. Access Tech Live is in a commercial break. The show will return in less than a minute. Access Tech Live will be back in 30 seconds. This is Access Tech Live.
And we're back on Access Tech Live, and Mark, as we've been saying since the top of the show, this is the last episode of the season. We're taking a little break after the show today, but we will be back.
Exactly, just in time for new iPhones normally, the first week of September. But, listen, it's a great opportunity for you guys to catch up on our season thus far, shows you might have missed. We've got some great ones on AMI TV. But, Stephen, you know what? We put together a little highlight reel from the season, including some great guests we had on, like Madison Tevlin, Apple's Jay Blahnik. We'll talk about the Apple Watch, Canada's Chief Accessibility Officer, Stephanie Cadieux, and the Valuable 500's Carolyn Casey. You know what, Stephen? Let's just roll it.
Where do we start? Hey everyone, welcome to this, our brand new show. It is Access Tech Live.
I'm not going to lie, Stephen, I got a little bit of butterflies going on in the stomach.
I am so excited to be here. Congratulations on this new platform and new opportunity.
I had the opportunity to sit down with Apple's Vice President of Fitness Technologies, Jay Blahnik.
We knew from the very beginning that this was going to be the most personal product that Apple had ever designed because you wear it on your body.
I'm the champion for the work ahead. I'm there to say to people, why is it important?
Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
People with Down syndrome have low muscle tone, so they assume that people with Down syndrome can't do anything like this. But I'm proving everybody wrong, and it feels so good to do that.
We've had a huge number of people who want to understand what is accessibility, why is it important, how can we make our products more inclusive, how can we make our work culture more inclusive.
We're never going to see Microsoft move away from Intel and AMD. That Windows will always support those processors.
I'm always really curious about how we think about the future based upon what we know in the present, and just how wrong it often is.
This year was the first time that it was like, I don't know what to choose because there was so many great games.
Tell us about the very first Global Accessibility Awareness Day and how it compares to today's events.
Oh my gosh, that is a question no one's asked me, which is great.
Stephen, in front of me, I've got this wonderful display. I've got the new AirPods Pro 2 with the USB-C case. I've got the Apple Watch Ultra 2. But guess what? I'm putting those aside. I don't want to talk about them now. No.
We're going to be talking about a subject that, to be honest, most of us, I think, tend to shy away from. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. And that is sex.
Because of all the stigma that
exists around sex and disability. There's still not a ton of mainstream sex toy companies that are creating really thoughtful toys from that lens.
Here in Amsterdam, where I am so pleased to be here at the Consumer Electronics Show, unveiled CES in Las Vegas, where frankly every technology show that's worth its salt should be.
One of the biggest things about getting folks together is you really get folks with diverse perspectives.
This morning, I'm joined very warmly by Roberta. She's come all the way down from Canada to join us.
For me, it's life-changing.
Mark, you are in Halifax. Now, here in the UK, that is known as a bank, but I believe in Canada it's known as a city. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, it's a city in Nova Scotia. It's on the eastern side of Canada. You didn't hit this on your trip across Canada? I'm surprised, Stephen.
We are live from the Zero Project Conference in Vienna. I am Stephen Scott. Mark Aflalo is literally by my side.
It's like coming back into a family, a global family, as you mentioned. Will you come to Think 25 and will you report for us from Think 25?
Stephen Scott, this is your likeness in an elf. The only way I can describe this elf is that it is you in a little elf outfit with a Santa hat. And it's going to be living on my shelf behind me for the entirety of this show to celebrate the holiday season.
I don't really know how to respond to this, because part of me feels like, okay, so my image has been clearly stolen and turned into some elf setup for Christmas time, which is fine. Okay, I get that. But it's the fact that you found it at the dollar store. I kind of hoped you'd find it at Nordstrom's or, somewhere, a bit more higher class, let's just say.
Lots of fun stuff on the road for us on Access Tech Live, so make sure you're following us on all our social media.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. A lot of great memories. Is that elf still there?
That elf is still somewhere in here. I have it prepared for the holidays, so don't worry about that. It was nice to hear from others, Sarah Herlinger, Dave Dame, Christopher Patno, Zach Bowden, Michael Hainsworth, Steve Saylor, Joe Devin, Kate Sonka, Rochelle Manette, Phil Ong, Caroline Casey, and of course, Stephen Scott, the elf, which made it all worthwhile at the end.
Hello.
Stephen, that's it. That's all the time we have for the week. I definitely want to say special thanks to all the people who made the cameos on this Ask Us Anything episode. Georgia Knox, Steve Saylor, Dan Ackerman, Christopher Patno, and of course, Sean Priest. And very special thanks to all the people behind the scenes who make this show such a pleasure to bring to you every week. Stacey, Kingsley, Jordan, Caitlin, Dan, Parker, James, and of course, Michelle. And of course, thanks to AMI for letting us do this every single week and hopefully for many, many years to come. Stephen, on behalf of you and on behalf of myself, thank you for being here each and every single week. We'll be off for a couple weeks, enjoy some reruns, and we'll catch you here at the beginning of September. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online on all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Mark Aflalo in Montreal. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding-Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, James Kennedy. Live graphics and playback, Kingsley Juco. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated Described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Produced in collaboration with Aflalo Communications Inc. and Double Tap Productions. Copyright 2024, Accessible Media Inc.
An AMI original production.